What's up, y'all? Welcome once again to another Cambridge University Press Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion video with me, John Bracey, aka Magister Bracey, coming at you with the final video, the third video in the series on the case for representation, the impact of imagery. Now, as we said before, representation here, what we're talking about is primarily racial representation in our classes from an historical perspective and from the perspective of a teacher, how we make these choices. Now, as we went over in our first two videos, one, we learned the basics of race and we figured out that race is not real or observable. Two, we recognized the way in which we use double standards when evaluating historical sources and making choices about the racial categories we want certain historical figures to be, and in turn sharing that image with our students. Now, the final video here is going to be about why this matters. And so we're going to look at some examples here. Let's get right into it. Boom! The impact of popular imagery. If you look all the way on what I believe to be the left of your screen, do you see Spartacus over here? Do you see Spartacus from the famous movie Spartacus? I think it's Stanley Kubrick. And you have Spartacus here fighting a tall, lean, muscular, black, bald gladiator. Right? Look at the center. What do you see? A black, bald gladiator from the movie Gladiator. When you look at the final image here, what do you see? A bald, black gladiator from the TV series Spartacus, Blood and Sand. These are in chronological order of depiction. Now, if you look all the way over here at Spartacus, right? This one actor that the director chose to feature because he liked the way he looked on film. Just one actor who just happened to be bald and black. He became an entire archetype for how we depict gladiators in movies. So now, when you have a movie about gladiators, oh, you got to have the bald black one, right? It's gladiators. It's got to be a bald black one, right? This is just based on the appearance of one actor, right? Like 50, 60 years ago, one actor. And now it's become just standard fare that if you're going to have gladiators, you got to have the bald black one. So based on the appearance of one actor in one movie, every single depiction of gladiators now has to have a black, male, bald actor in it. This is the impact of popular imagery. This is the impact of the image choices that we make when it comes to depicting figures from the ancient world. One decision by one director has now permanently implanted on our head the idea that there were black people in the Roman Empire. They coexisted with what we would call white people in the Roman Empire. Right? Outside of this, there aren't very many popular depictions of black people in the Roman Empire. Now it's become standard fare. Unfortunately, and I'll slide out the way so you can see some of these right quick. Out of frame. Unfortunately, this cuts both ways. Over here, we have a depiction of an Egyptian pharaoh. I don't know. I don't know what part of Egypt. I have no idea what part of ancient Egypt this is. No part where dude looks like that. But because of years and years of depicting ancient Egyptians, ancient Africans, as specifically non-black, but oftentimes just plain white, we have now totally normalized this idea to the point where you can release movies within the past decade that depict ancient Egyptians as legitimately just white people. I grew up seeing these depictions of images of Egyptians as white people. Now, again, think of the mental gymnastics you have to do to get there. But what is the impact of this? The impact of this is that the most well-known African civilization in the world is now firmly considered to be non-African. Do you see what that does? So if you take Egypt and you take Carthage, and you decide that the presence of civilization necessitates the presence of non-black people because black people are not capable of civilization, do you see what that does? So when finally you decide that you're going to cover some bits of Africa here, and your black students are like, oh yes, we're going to talk about my people, and all of a sudden the entire subject matter becomes how the Egyptians were not black, and how it's more accurate to show white people as Egyptians than black people. The impact of this is paramount. This is why this happened. There was no confusion about the ancient Egyptians until about 200 years ago, when very intentionally they were converted into a non-African group, historically for the purposes of justifying colonialization or colonization and slavery. Before that, there was no question. This kind of imagery has made it so that a lot of us, even to this day, come into our classrooms assuming that this is a closer idea of what ancient Egyptians would have looked like than what anyone like me or any other African American would have been to this. It's the impact of this, yeah. Psychologically, on the development of your kids, you wouldn't even believe. You wouldn't even believe it. Here's another example of the impact of popular imagery. Now, if I slide over here, you can see that we have two actors, right, depicting a mythological character named Achilles from the Iliad. Right? Greek hero Achilles. Now, a couple of things here. One, when the movie Troy came out, starring a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Oklahoman speaking with a fake British accent, there was absolutely no pushback saying, what is this? What is this? They couldn't find a Greek actor? They literally could not find a Greek actor to play this role. Why didn't even they have him do like a Greek accent or even attempt one? Nothing. Absolutely no response to this. No response to the ethnic differences or even the depiction choices in the movie Troy with Brad Pitt. None. But you look over here, when he's cast to play Achilles, there is a massive backlash and uproar over the fact that they've made Achilles black. Now, I would argue that both are stylistic choices, right? It's mythology. But both are not depictions of an ancient Greek hero. Based on our understanding of it, right? There's no attempt at Greek accents. Yet one gets incredible amounts of scrutiny, the other, none whatsoever. These are the kind of decisions that are being made that are impacting people seriously. The final image I'll show you, which should make you nauseous, is an image from the movie The 300, where you see actual people, the Persians, actual people today being depicted as literal monsters. This is what we're dealing with. This is what you're up against. And this is the impact. People seeing themselves as not human, as monsters, as not part of history, as not part of the ancient world, as abnormal, as strange. You have the power in your classes to undo all of this so that your students see themselves not as they would like to, but as they actually were, because they would have been there. So what I ask you to do is I ask you to be aware of the choices that you make and understand that you have so much more freedom than you think you do to make these choices, because you are free of these myths about race. So now you are free to use a wide variety of racial depictions, because not only are they accurate, they're appropriate, and they're good for your students. I have been John Bracey. Thank you for watching these videos, and I'll catch you on the other side. Wale.